So now we know very much of the fretboard, suddenly. There are, however, notes we don't know the names of. The notes that are in the gap between the whole steps. For example, that one. Now, this is seen as a version of the of a stem note. So if, let's say here, we know now that this note is C and this one is D. The one between can be looked as a version of the C, or a version of a D. It can be looked as a so-called sharpened C. And to sharpen a note, we move it a whole step up. So we get this note can be called a C sharp. It can also be called a version of a D that has been flattened, which is the opposite of sharpening. We lower the note by a half step. So it can be it's going to be called a D flat. So this note can have two names. It can be C sharp and it can be D flat. And I'm not going to explain why. There is a very, very good reason for this, but you don't need to dwell upon that now. But remember, so when you write the note name down, if you sharpen something, you take the stem note name and you add what is these days called a hashtag after it. So C sharp is notated like this. And a flattened note, you take the stem note name and you put something that looks like a small a lowercase b, and that is the how you write a D flat. So, and with that in mind, it's easy to calculate all the note names on the fretboard because they're all going to correspond to this logic, the stem notes. And so let's say you want to find a E flat on string 3. We need to find the stem note E first. So if on the G, we know that G, A, B, C, D, E, and we wanted to flatten that one, so we move it one half step down, and you got an E flat. And you might think, can it have another name? Yes, it can. It could also have been called a D sharp. So everything will correspond to that logic on the entire fretboard. So that will give you all the note names.